Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Q1 FY22 earnings conference call of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal for an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Sonpal.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of HOEC Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the first quarter of financial year 2022. Before we begin, I'd like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's earnings con call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. Now let me introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings conference call and give it over to them for opening remarks. We have with us Mr. P. Elango, Managing Director, and Mr. R. Jeevanandam, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer. Without any further delay, I request Mr. Elango to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anuj. Good morning, everyone. Happy to connect with you all on this Q1 FY22 earnings call. Jiva, our CFO and whole-time director, is also with me, and Valorem Advisors, our investor relations advisor, are also on the call. I hope you all have received our updated earnings presentation. We've also uploaded that same on our website for your reference. After a year of singular focus on B80, Q1 FY22 was about making adjustments to realign for first oil from B80 in Q3 FY22. While we are dealing with the time and associated cost overrun issues through renegotiation, we are excited about the prospects of the field over the long term. We had already announced the much-awaited updated reserves number from B80. With the multifold increase in the 2P reserves, B80 has emerged as the anchor asset which will transform HOEC. The reason for such increase is on account of post-development drilling, whereby HOEC the B80 3D geological model by applying all the data from the field, which includes the previous wells drilled by ONGC as well as the current 2 additional development wells drilled by ONGC. We have initiated engagement with the market to identify potential contractors to mobilize a suitable marine spread to complete the remaining project works post-monsoon and bring the field to production in Q3 of this year. On the marketing front, our plan is to roll out an e-auction for gas sales and will store the oil initially to carry out sampling and assay of settled crude to discover the best market prices and sell the oil at the delivery point in the FSO. At Dirok, we continue to operate without any downtime due to COVID pandemic, despite severe restrictions in the area. That further demand for Dirok gas exists is being proven both operationally as well as through the e-auction that was conducted for Dirok gas earlier. To achieve further production from Dirok, expansion of processing facilities would be required at Dirok, which is part of the phase 2 execution plan. As indicated in our last call, our focus in Dirok now is value over volume. To achieve this, we have conducted the e-auction in June and are now in the final stages of contract conclusion with the buyers. We expect gas sales from these contracts to commence from Q3 FY22 onwards. Expected increase in the 6-monthly government notified prices will positively impact the revenue realization from these contracts. This is a significant development and has a potential to increase the realized gas price from Dirok from Q3 onwards. The current arrangement will continue with Oil India to ensure smooth transition using the pipeline infrastructure of Oil India. Once we move to the new arrangement, Oil India will act as a transporter for Duroc gas, for which modalities are being worked out. This pioneering e-auction has helped to discover the natural gas pricing in the Northeast, especially Upper Assam. We are in parallel preparing for the Northeast market being opened up for the rest of India, as the Northeast gas grid Indradhanush is progressing at a rapid pace and is expected to commission the Guwahati-Numaligarh pipeline portion in 2023. In PY1, production has declined and the offtake has been inconsistent during the pandemic year. Our efforts to revive the well to original production capacity was not successful. The field will now require rig-based intervention to increase production. Our geological studies have been completed to plan the next drilling campaign in this unique fractured basement reservoir. The next drilling campaign in PY1 will be planned after first oil from B80. Although the current production from PY1 is very small, we remain confident of bringing the field back to producing to its potential after the drilling campaign. Final investment decision will be taken after independent technical assessment and de-risking. In our Cambay assets, we have initiated the environmental clearance process to drill additional wells, and the much delayed execution of R2 PSC in our Palej block is in its final stages of approval. Similarly, there has been further progress in Kerem to secure the PML with the consent of the state government of Arunachal Pradesh. Overall, our plan is to continue our focus on delivering first oil from B80 while progressing the planning and regulatory processes in all other assets and take up execution immediately after first oil from B80. Updates on a couple of other matters are, firstly, amendment of B80 revenue sharing contract to reflect the increase in HOEC's participating interest from 50 to 60% has been cleared by the Law Ministry and is in final stages of execution. Second, PY3 arbitration award is still under challenge in Malaysian High Court. Next hearing is expected in September. In a parallel matter initiated by Hardy for enforcement of award, the Gujarat High Court directed HOEC to file its objections. HOEC requested for review on the premise that till award becomes final, post Malaysian High Court verdict, it is not correct to ask HOEC to file its objection. On 10th August, the Gujarat High Court rejected HOEC's request for review. Action is underway to appeal to Supreme Court. We've also made a disclosure in the results about this. You can refer that. I now invite Jiva to share the financials.
Yeah, thanks, Elango. We report that the company has made a revenue of 27.56 crores in the current quarter against 24.19 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, it is 31.79 crores against 29.68 crores in the previous quarter. Increase in revenue is mainly from increase in the sale gas in Assam and higher realization of oil prices. This profit on standalone is about 11.71 crores against 6.59 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, profit after tax for this quarter is 10.93 crores against 5.54 crores in the previous quarter. On the expense side, if you look at including DDA, it is 15.85 crores, comparing 17.6 crores in the previous quarter. Operating costs are not linear to the production, except statutory levies such as royalty cess, which is at Vellaram. In the consolidated accounts, it is 21 crores, comparing 24 crores in the previous quarter. In the overall, this contributed to the increase in the cash flow to the company. Operating cash flow standalone is 11 crores for this quarter. Before working capital change is 14 crores, comparing 11 crores in the previous quarter. And in the consolidated accounts, the operating cash flow stands at 16 crores, comparing 12 crores in the previous quarter. Investment of all inclusive about 619 crores is in the capital work in progress, and on commencement of revenue from these assets, it will move to oil and gas producing assets. Better number would reflect on the commencement of cash flows from these assets, which would provide a new impetus to the business. In effect, 1/3 of the oil and gas assets are in production, and 2/3 is capital work in progress, which will yield better numbers once the B80 is put on production. Thanks, Elango.
Thank you, Jiva. Anuj, we can open the forum for question, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, please press star and 1. Participants are also requested to limit their questions to 2 per participant. Time permitting, you may return to the queue for your follow-up questions. Our first question is from the line of Akshay Satija from Alpha Invesco. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. So my first question is on DROC. So could you help us with what would be the aggregate investments in DROC as I'm trying to calculate the investment multiple? Also, what would be our capex if we go ahead with expansion of capacity from 36 to 55 and maybe 5 years down the line we look at increasing it to 75 SCFT?
In the currently we have in the FDP field development plan, the first field development plan, we made an investment of roughly about $60 million gross investment in developing the DROC phase 1 of the field. In the second development, which is already been approved, the envisaged investment is about $60 million and our share would be less than $18 million. The second phase of the development involves a 38-kilometer pipeline, drilling of few wells, as well as expanding the existing process capacity in a modular format. So what we had, our existing infrastructure itself is capable of producing about 40 million cubic feet or odd on occasional demand. We have delivered more than 40 million cubic feet of gas per day. So our plan is to first implement the e-auction contract in place and recommence the sales directly to the end consumers through this using the Oil India's infrastructure, and then take up the phase 2 development, and we have some flexibility to initially decide on the number of wells and expand the facilities. So overall, for the entire phase 2, including the pipeline portion, is about $60 million gross, and our share of that will be less than $18 million.
Okay, got it. So my next question would be, so first, a clarification. So as per our April 2016 investor presentation, our 2P reserves for PY1 stood at somewhere 31.5 BCF. Now we've extracted somewhere around 5.5 BCF in the last 5 years. So do our current reserves stand at 26 BCF, or we are looking at this the wrong way?
See this, when you look at PY1 reserves, it is basically the whatever we were producing on that, actually that time we estimated P90 reserves thereon. Now the P50 reserves is much higher than that. That is being the reservoir model is being now worked out, and we have got a new expert geologist. He is working on it at the moment. With the revised numbers, with the revised number of well drilling assets, we will come out with a new plan thereon to it. Because whatever you could have seen in 2014 and 15 and 16, we have impaired most of the assets thereon to it, and we kept out to the bare minimum in the books of accounts. Now we have to revisit the whole thing, and we will come back with the revised numbers that will be classified under the P50 reserves, and after drilling the wells, we will move into P90. So till the time the reserves showing in the books of accounts are much lower than that.
Okay. So one more thing on this, sir. So when we actually report our reserves in the annual report, so reserves are actually the initial reserves, or we actually keep them updating every year considering whatever we have depleted or removed that year?
Yeah, every year the reserves will be recasted, which will be based on the new data thereon. If there is, then we have to adjust to the production number thereon to it. That is the way reserves are revalued at every year end actually. On 31st March of the year, we will revalue the reserves thereon to it, and the production thereon to be adjusted thereon, and based on that, the balance recoverable reserves will be get reported.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it, sir. Got it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is on the line of Rohit Poti from Marshmallow Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. A couple of questions on BAT. So first is, I mean, we've mentioned in the past that the netback for us, as far as crude oil is concerned, is around $23 on a $50 crude oil price. But could you share a broad calculation for the gas that we'll be producing there? I think we'll produce around 17 MMSCFD there.
Yeah. The gas, we expect the total production to be about 15 million standard cubic feet per day, and the sales volume will be about 12 million standard cubic feet per day. Now, 12 million standard cubic feet in terms of MMBTU is about 12,000 MMBTU. So 12,000 MMBTU on we expect the price the discovered price for that would be roughly about $4 per MMBTU. Yeah, $4 per MMBTU, and primarily the operating cost is really gets covered by the from the oil price realization. There's no separate operating cost for gas as such. So net of royalty, we should be the revenue would be flowing back to the operations.
Okay, sure. So that was helpful. And so broadly, my second question is on the royalty calculation itself. So yeah. In the previous, I mean, not in this presentation, but I believe in the previous quarterly presentation, we had given a calculation for BAT based on both the low revenue point and the high revenue point. So, I mean, I was hoping if the management could explain that a little better, because I'm not able to calculate, I'm not understanding how to calculate the government share of revenue. Let's say if it is $60, how do we go about calculating this?
Yeah. No, under the revenue sharing model, the way it works is, if a daily value of the gross production is less than $10,000, the government share would be 12%. If the daily gross value of the production from the field is more than $1 million per day, then the share of government goes up to 56%. So, on an average, for the current production rate of 5,000 barrels of oil and 15 million cubic feet of gas per day production, our expectation is around 20 to 22% of revenue will go first to the government. First, on the whatever is the price, let's say the price is $50 per barrel, 10% of which will go towards royalty, which is $5. Then roughly about 20 to 22% will go towards the revenue share, which is roughly about $6. Then the operating cost, and the balance is the net back. On that basis only, we indicated this $23 per barrel.
Yeah, so that was helpful. So am I right in thinking that this percentage increases a little non-linearly with higher revenue generation or higher oil prices? So let's say if it is $60, then are we talking about so the royalty will remain constant at 10%, but the revenue share will be higher than 20 to 23% that you indicated?
No, the revenue share will increase linearly only depending on the value of the oil price realized.
Okay.
Linear only.
Okay, so let's say if it goes from 50 to 60, we are looking at, let's say, about 25% of revenue that is shared. Is that right?
See, I think I would like to explain to you, this is two element of component. The royalty is a stagnant of 10%. This is nothing to do with the royalty. Then it comes to the revenue share to the government. Revenue share to the government is more on a progressive model. which means that it is a low rate of low revenue. That is, when your revenue is up to 10,000 rupees, it will be a percentage of say 12% you share it to the government. If your revenue is more than 10,000 and less than $1 million per day, then you will be progressing it according to it. So what will happen, that your proportion rate is your increase in the revenue would by actual revenue divided by 990,000 US dollar. So it is a progressive model. It is not a linear expansion model, right? It will be progressing at a slower rate actually. So that is why what happened, you have to work with this type of field, revenue stagnant model. You are applied to revenue. So if you pick up a revenue model in such a way, you keep the price, your revenue share to the government to pick up a number, say around 20-21%. Then accordingly you adjust your volume of production. So your price is low, you increase your volume to your desired level. If your price is high, you reduce your volume in a manner that you keep the government take in an order of around 20%. So royalty around 10%. So 1/3 of the revenue goes to 30% of the revenue goes to the government. If you look at any revenue, any price profile as such, you can say roughly 30% goes to the government. The balance comes to the company as such to meet its operating cost as well as the net back for its capital expenditure. So I hope this is clear.
Oh, this was very, very helpful. So we'll try and maintain the total value of production from that field at a broadly stable level, so that the net back to the government is the payment to the government is roughly 30% of the total revenue on a daily basis.
Absolutely, that is the way it is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was very helpful. I'll get back into the queue.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Manan Patel from Eravat Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Sir, first of all, I wanted to understand our revenue stream from the subsidiary investments that we have made. We have made around 250-260 crores in the subsidiary. So I wanted to understand what kind of revenue stream will come from that, and is my understanding correct that the $10 OPEX or $12 OPEX that we are considering, part of that revenue will flow to the subsidiary itself? So if you can throw some light on that.
Okay, these are the two wholly owned subsidiaries, because basically we get into a model of keeping this field less from the clutches of the contractors, because this being a subsea production and looking into the volatility of the prices, we wanted to run this field for longer years. So that is the reason we resources the facilities through our in-house as such. So when you look at these assets are normally put on to an IRR in the order of say 30%. So this is a normative return to those type of assets. So we will look into that manner. So this out of that, say look at $100,000 is $100,000 is an OPEX expenditure. 80% will flow back to the group as such, and only $20,000 goes to the outsiders. So these prices are currently, which is in the order of around totally for these two facilities, which are looking around some $80,000 plus. It will be more of a market driven. We will, being a material related party transaction, we will take a relevant benchmark prices in the market. Then we will decide the price with then we fix a price thereon in a way that we are not profiteering from the subsidiaries. At the same time, we are not subsidizing to the field as such. That's what we plan as such.
Understood, sir. That's very helpful. And sir, just clarification on the previous question on the royalty. So that is on the revenue or the production? Because I understand you mentioned around 15 MMSCFD of gas production versus sale of 12 MMSCFD. So I just wanted to clear that. So royalty will be calculated on production or the sales?
No. See, in India, all the royalty is calculated based on the revenue realized, not on the volume of production thereon. Whatever the sales which we make, that would be based on the sales, the royalty is payable on it.
Okay. And sir, last clarification. So you mentioned initially from BAT production, we will sample the oil, and then will it take a long time for that oil to get converted into revenue?
No, we have the storage capacity of the FSO is about 900,000 barrels, which could store potentially 6 months of the production. Right? What we thought was, rather than taking the sample based on the well testing, we'll do the initial production, let's say for a couple of weeks, and then take the sample. And this whole exercise can be done in within 2-3 weeks' time, the assay. Then we will have a right parcel size to load a tanker. Let's say a typical tanker load is about 240,000 barrels, and we will then offer it for sale to the interested refining company. So it doesn't have to wait till the end. But the idea was you will realize better value or understand the properties much better if the sample is taken from what is known as settled crude.
Understood, sir. That's very helpful, and thanks a lot for your answers and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is on the line of Hardik Jain from ISJ Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, so in B80, you said we'll produce around 15 MMSCSD of gas per day. And how much will be the oil per day that will produce from it?
Oil will be 5,000 barrels of oil per day.
5,000 barrels of oil per day. Okay. And this will be around $3 to $4 discount to the Brent?
We haven't really gone, but what we know so far based on the initial assessment is our oil is closer to, in terms of quality, closer to Brent. Then we will, once we take the crude assay, we'll decide engage in the negotiation with the buyers to arrive at the price.
Okay. And sir, now, we understand that after the monsoon, very little work is left that we have to do. So should we expect that by the end of October we should start the production from B80, hopefully?
Not really. We'll just stick to the Q3 guidance because, the one is to exactly figure out the end of the monsoon period, with the kind of changing weather. The exact date needs to be first understood. Then, before we actually mobilize the marine spread, we don't want a situation we incur huge costs, mobilize the spread, and the weather is not right for the job. So we'll rather like the weather to settle first properly and then mobilize. So we'll keep you updated as we make progress on this.
Okay. So whenever we start the production, October, November, whenever, and how much time will it take us to reach to the 5,000 barrels of oil per day production and 15 MMSCFD gas per day production? Will it take long time to ramp up the production, or it happens immediately?
See, production, what happens, there is gas sales goes immediately to the revenue realization. Gas is not getting stored either in the pipeline or anything. It gets into the reservoir terminal for sale. Oil, we look for a parcel size. So the first parcel size will be taking about, say, 2 months. So after the 2 months, we will start the first uptake. Then it will be a continuous uptake on 30 days, 40 days, depending upon the availability of the shuttle tanker there. So then it will be a regular as such. Initial first revenue realization from the oil will take about 2 months. The first uptake will be made. After the 2 months, then we'll take about 30 days to realize the revenue thereon.
Yeah. Okay. And so net, so at around say $60 per barrel price, the net back, how much net back can we guess for this?
Then see, you can look at as such about see that government revenue and revenue sharing and all goes around. You assume it 30%. The balance would be for the OPEX and CAPEX reimbursement. Out of 42, you look at around say $10 even go for OPEX, you'll still make $32.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks. That's it from my side.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Rajesh Agarwal from AUM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Just wanted to understand your perspective on potential of DSF-3.
So, in the DSF round, the government has taken one important feedback from the industry, which is to increase the size of individual acreage size. This time, example BAT, the acreage size is about 56 square kilometer. The industry represented to the government that for offshore in particular, the acreage size should be larger. That the risks that are taken by the companies are properly rewarded. So the government has come up with an average acreage size of about 400 to 500 square kilometer, particularly in western offshore. And right now the bidding dates have been extended to end of October. And overall, there are both onshore and offshore. In the onshore, in our past, we've seen very high competition in offshore field, but the competition is limited in offshore. So we are looking at wherever there is a synergy, we'll be evaluating the blocks, and wherever looks more synergistic as we will look at that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Varatharajan from Antique Limited. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. So I had two questions. One on BAT. I think somebody asked when you will reach that 5,000 level, how many days or months. In the same breath, given the increase in the reserve numbers, has there been any change in your plan in terms of drilling additional wells and maintaining this production for a longer period of time? My second question is on DROC. Given the auctions which you have done, should we go ahead with the 30% of the volume going at a new pricing, or should we take up some fallback volume also into the calculation going forward in terms of our assessment of these revenues?
Okay. On BAT, we will not require much ramp-up time. Essentially, once the wells are brought on production one by one, within a month or so, we should be hitting our production level. Based on the reserves increase, we are not revising. We are not planning any immediate investment. Our plan is to initially put the field on production, maybe after within a period of 2 years, look at additional wells to be drilled, which will primarily ensure we will be looking at both water injection and development wells, which will primarily increase the plateau period of the field, as well as results in some marginal increase in production, which we will come back once we gain production history from the initial production. On DROC, what we have done is our arrangement with Oil India continues, but we've got a full volume demand on a fallback basis from the customers who will be paying a premium of minimum $1 per MMBTU. 1/3 of it is on a firm commitment. You can reasonably assume that 1/3 of the current volume will be off-taken at a premium level. The balance 2/3 would be based, because they are being contracted on fallback basis, based on the demand from the market, those volumes will be sent. So every day what we will do is based on the demand we receive from the market, based on the better prices will get the first option, and then the balance volume will go to Oil India. And the other point to note is the industry is expecting a increase in the government notified prices also effective 1st October. So all in all, it would be very reasonable to assume at least $1 more price realization from Q3 onwards.
Right, so I'll join back in the queue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Tejas Shah from Unique Stock Broking. Please go ahead. As the current participant has kept the call on hold, we'll move on to our next question, which is from the line of Sunil Jain from Nirmal Bang Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, to take my question. So my question is about B80. Considering the P2 reserve, what could be the life of this B80 well?
See, this life of this field is linked to two factors. Okay, one is the price, and because we wanted to have a revenue stabilization as such. So when we look at this field size minimum, it should be around. We'll look for another extension. This is field life. The production sharing contract is about 20 years. We'll look for another 10-year extension there onto this. That is our current prognosis of the field development.
Yeah, that is the life. Means considering the reserve, that can be the life of the from current rate of production.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. That was my question.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Akshay Satija from Alpha Invesco. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity and follow-up question. Sir, is it possible to please share the 2P reserves for all the different wells that we have?
No, I think in our announcement that was made on June 30th, normally we do the reserves data as part of the annual report, but considering the substantial increase in the B80 number, we made a special announcement. So whatever data that's provided there, that is what will be there.
Okay. Okay. So also one more question on the Kherem thing. So what would be our strategy there?
In Kherem, we had when we bid for Kherem, the idea was to look at building our asset base in the northeast region. And at that time, frankly, we assumed operating in Arunachal Pradesh would be pretty similar to operating in Assam. But what we realized is Assam government is far more proactive, and we were able to engage with them much more actively, and the processes are relatively simpler in Assam. Arunachal Pradesh government, the large part of the area is controlled by the forest department. So even the initial petroleum mining lease has not been issued by the Arunachal Pradesh government. We had to take the help of Government of India. But recently there's been a lot of discussion at secretary level where some more further progress has happened. So it is not a large field. Our estimate was about the field to produce about 400 barrels of oil per day. The wells need to be drilled. So once we get the PML, we will come with a field development plan and proceed with that.
Okay. So one more question I had. So we believe the government is planning to spend some 9,000 crores in Assam for a pipeline. Can you throw some light on what sort of works have happened on that project, and when can we expect the project to come on stream?
Yeah. This is the government has provided the additional fund and set up a company which is executing this northeast gas grid. Overall, their primary focus is to, right now, the gas pipeline exists in northeast. The main marketing hub is Duliajan. And Duliajan and Numaligarh NRL refinery is right now connected through pipeline, existing pipeline. The first phase of the focus is to connect the Numaligarh to Guwahati city. That part of the pipeline work is progressing on a rapid pace, and the information that we have, sometime by end 2023, that pipeline will be connected as such. The other important development is, initially this pipeline were conceived to bring gas from outside northeast into the northeast market, primarily to meet the demands of NRL's expansion, which was being planned on imported LNG, regasified LNG coming through this Paradip to this end. Now, with the increase in gas production, not only from HOEC, by Oil India also, the GAIL is keeping a provision to actually, if required, additional gas can also be exported out of Northeast to the Indian market. So the whole pipeline network becomes a single market with optionality to flow the gas into Northeast or outside Northeast, depending on the demand in the particular regions. What we have seen is in the upper Assam region, where the Dirok facilities are located, or Duliajan is there is enough demand for more offtake. So overall, summary is the GAIL-led that company is proceeding on a rapid pace, and the government of Assam is supporting them very actively.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Nirbhay Mahawar from N Square Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. I wanted to understand the PY1 potential you talked about. When we drill additional, what kind of volume we can expect in PY1?
So we have initially we had developed a field development plan, which basically envisaged drilling of 3 wells, which will take the production to about 17 million standard cubic feet per day. But subsequently, we have done further studies are going on. So based on which we will revise and come with which will also be vetted by an independent reserve auditor before we take the final investment decision. I think what draws continued interest in PY1 is we recognize it's a technically challenging field, but we also recognize it's a commercially very attractive field because of the fact that existing infrastructure is there, and we have a huge cost basket that is yet to be recovered as such. So the investment that will be required is to basically drill the well, and as long as that investment made on drilling a well ensures adequate return, we will go for that. So we will come with a more firmer plan before we take the final investment decision on this field.
The initial plan you mentioned was 17 million standard cubic.
17 to 20 million cubic feet per day.
And the pricing is fixed at $3.65.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Another small follow-up on BAT. So the weather window starts early in the western coast in comparison to eastern coast?
Normally it is October, November. November would be a safer period, November onwards. But with the kind of changes that is happening, we would like the weather to open up first before we really make any financial commitment with the contractor in mobilizing the spread also. But we monitor the weather forecast on a daily basis, and we'll move quickly as soon as we see the window opening.
Fair enough, sir. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you.
Next question is from the line of Rohit Balakrishnan from iThought PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Rohit. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Hi. So just one question. In BAT, sir, our oil production would be 5,000, you said, 5,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. That is our net or gross? I just wanted to clarify that.
This is gross. Field production is 5,000 barrels of oil and 15 million cubic feet of gas per day. And our share in the block is 60%.
Okay. Sir, please correct me if I'm wrong. Have we scaled this down? Because we were earlier thinking of doing 8,000 as gross and 5,000 as net.
1,000, no, we have not changed any number. 8,000 is barrels of oil equivalent, that is both oil and gas together. So 5,000, the breakup is 5,000 of it is oil, about 15 million cubic feet of it is gas. Together they make up for 8,000 barrels of oil equivalent, all gross numbers.
Understood. Understood. Okay. Thank you, sir. That's pretty much it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Ashwin Reddy from Samatwa Cap Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hi, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. So again, on BAT, a clarification. So, firstly, I wanted to understand what is the capacity that we have for production of oil. Why I understand 5,000 barrels of oil is what you're guiding for. What is the capacity that we have put up in place right now?
So we have in terms of the surface facilities, the pipeline and the processing capacity that we have is 10,000 barrels of oil. And we have adequate storage capacity, as I told you.
Right. So at 10,000 barrels of oil, then I'm assuming correspondingly the gas production also will go up correspondingly rather than the oil gas increases. Is that the way to see it?
Not really. Yes, the two wells that we have drilled indicate this is more oil field, and we will be chasing more oil in this field than gas.
Okay, understood, sir. So in the light of the recent commentary on BAT, where the reserves have been revised upwards, so this the impact of this would only be in the extension of the life versus the revenues going up in the next 1-2 years. Is that how we should understand?
Yeah, I think initially, definitely we are absolutely certain that the extension of the field life for a much longer period, as you have explained, beyond even the current contract period. So that and we have come up with a strategy that will ensure the economic field remains for a long period. In terms of additional production through additional wells, will be based on after seeing the production history for some time.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking is because you intended to use the cash flows from this well in scaling up PY1 and other assets. So I'm just trying to understand, so how do you balance it out, and what are your thoughts there? So is that in the next 1-2 years should we see it scaling up, or what I'm trying to understand for BAT?
Yeah, no, definitely in about 2 years' time we would be doing additional wells in BAT.
So for now we stick to 5,000 barrels of oil and gas is how we should see it for next 1 year, 1-2 years.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay, sir. Yeah. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Deepak Poddar from Sapphire Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. So just wanted to understand, in terms of overall barrel of oil volume target for this year, FY22 and FY23, is there any kind of indication that you have given or would like to share?
Not really, because everything really big change is going to be from the time we bring in BAT into production. That actually guided will happen in the Q3, which specifically in which months is very difficult to predict unless we know about the weather situation.
For the next year, if that is that will give more clarity by next year. So
yeah, true, next year. So on the what I've been saying earlier also, that we will focus on the net production from now onwards. So if you look at last year, our net production was roughly about 2,300 barrels of oil equivalent. Those are net to HOEC. When we bring the BAT in full production mode, which will happen in Q3, our net entitlement production will go up to 7,000 barrels of oil equivalent. That's almost 2 times more than the current level, and then onwards, so that will guide the next year production.
So 7,000 is what we are targeting next year, right?
7,000 barrels of oil equivalent total for the company, net to company, oil equivalent. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. That's it from my side. All the way best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Rikesh Parikh from Barclays Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, can you just share this point about DROC, the commercial production means how much volume we sold as per the new sharing contract?
Yeah. Rikesh,
Based on option.
I think what you are asking is, right now the field is producing roughly about 32 million standard cubic feet per day. Out of that, right now, whatever volume that we are producing is being sold to Oil India at the government notified prices. We went for an e-auction where we had given the option to buyers to quote both for on a firm basis as well as on fallback basis. For firm basis, we got bid for 1/3 of the volume at a $1 premium over the government notified prices. So from Q3 onwards, 30% of our production will be sold at $1 per premium on a firm basis. The balance 2/3 will also be sold on a premium directly to the customers, but they are on fallback basis, which means effectively whenever there is a additional demand by the customer, they will draw from this gas. If there is no additional demand from a specific customer, the gas will continue to be sold to Oil India. So, as we move at least a couple of quarters, things will stabilize in terms of offtake by the direct offtake by private customer. Now, for the buyers also, like the seller, they will also first exhaust the cheap gas before they bid for this, before they opt to take gas from a premium gas like the rock. Have I answered your question, Rikesh?
Okay, so the higher realization will be coming from the Q3, right?
Yes.
Q2. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. That's it from us.
Thank you. Next question is from Mayur Patel from IIFL AMC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sorry, I joined a bit late. Can you just reiterate? You said, sir, the current, if I look at the presentation, net production of BOE/PD is 2402. This would look like 7,000 once this B80 starts producing in Q3. Is it right?
Correct.
And sir, what would be the breakup we should assume in that 7,000 between oil and gas?
So the breakup would be roughly 50% oil and 50% gas buyer.
Okay, sir. Okay. And this DROC development phase 2, when this is likely to get completed and when it will start bearing, giving additional production?
On the DROC, we've got the phase 2 really involves the important critical path item in phase 2 is laying of 38-kilometer pipeline, and part of which go through the forest region. For the project, we have got the field development plan is approved by the government. Recently we have got the environmental clearance for the project. We are right now the forest clearance for the pipeline, which is a critical path item, is under next stage of approval within the state government of Assam. So we expect maybe by end of this year we should have all the clearances, and then within a 2-year period we should be able to complete the project.
Within 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, sir. I'll get back to the queue. Thank you very much, sir. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Akshay Ajmera from Nirzar Securities LLP. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So when we talk about the operating cost of $10, are we also including the depreciation cost of MOPU and the well amortization, expecting that 10 to 12 years of the life of MOPU and the wells that we have? So that will be my first question.
It is actually the charter hire charges. Suppose any third party you hire a vessel, and you will be paying only the charter hire charges from the field as such. But at the person who is earning the revenue as a subsidiary, they will only depreciate it.
So roughly how much is the depreciation cost of our assets, like on the wells and the wells that we have held?
As such, we take as such it is around 20 years, and in our case, we'll be taking little lesser than 15 years actually. That is we'll amortize based on that on a standard straight line basis.
So that cost will come after the operating cost. That will be reduced further from the
operating cost. Suppose I take a hire of a vehicle, I pay only the hire charges, right? The company provides hire only will be charging depreciation in their books.
Right. And on the wells, we will take the depreciation that will form part of our operating cost of $10.
Called depreciation, that is called depletion. And being acquiring assets, it will be depletion. It will get depleted depending on your denominator would be the reserves as such, and your numerator would be the production thereon. So it depends on so now we know the denominator, that is the volume as such, whatever the reserves developed as such, that will become the base of it. And whatever we produce from there, actually if we produce 1 million and your base is 10 million, 10% would be your depletion rate.
So that will be included in the operating cost that we have calculated of $10.
Part of normally called as an operating cost, because your capital expenditures will be recovered through that mode. Like it similar to a depreciation, your capital assets is recovered through your depletion mode. Capital cost incurred. So you look at it as a capital recovery factor as such. So one of the normal conventional accounting factor is the depletion. Other is your whatever you think as a rate of return, that would be there as a return part of it.
Okay. And sir, are we paying any royalty on gas also, or is there any royalty only on the crude oil?
All petroleum products, all hydrocarbons which we produce from this country is subject to royalty. That is oil.
Okay. And when we apply the production sharing formula of say 10% royalty and maybe 10 to 12% revenue share, so that is for the field. That is not subject to the wells that we have drilled, right? That is subject to the particular field.
Field as such, how much production you realize.
Okay. And if there is any extension in the field, so are there any changes in the renewal terms? Let's say we have renewed the.
In this production sharing, revenue sharing contracts, I don't think they fixed any formula. That we do not know after 20 years down the line what the government will come up.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That's it from my side.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Shyamak Peter, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. So one thing I want to ask is regarding the B80 field, where the capital expenditure that will be taking place. Once we recover that expenditure amount, then the production sharing contract will start with the government. The royalty we have to pay to the government.
No, this is a revenue sharing contract model. Therefore, the government is not concerned with the investment. So from the day we start the production, the royalty will have to be paid and revenue share will have to also be paid.
And sir, the quality of oil is sour or sweet oil at B80?
Sweet oil. Light.
Yeah. And secondly, sir, regarding PY1 field, initially the previous management had drilled 2 wells over there, but because of the problem that they were not able to handle it properly, because we had only one customer, PPA power plant. Now we directly give it to GAIL India, if I am not mistaken. So now the drilling is going to take place in the 2 initial wells from where the production is going to take place, because the plan was to drill 9 wells over there. So what is your plan ahead for PY1 field?
It will be new wells, and you are right. Currently we have a pipeline from GAIL which is connected to the field. Any new production that comes also will go through the GAIL pipeline network. And these will be new wells. As I told earlier, we will come up with a specific plan, what would be the investment, what would be the reserves, etc., before we take the final investment decision.
And secondly, sir, this now also are we supplying gas to that power plant, or only GAIL is the main agency doing it?
Only GAIL is the main agency.
And secondly, regarding the Palej field, initially there was a production of about 500 barrels of oil from Palej field, but then depletion was taking place at a very fast rate. So are you planning to revive the field, or what is your plan ahead for the Palej field, sir?
Yeah, Palej, we plan to revive the field, for which we wanted certain additional acreage from government, for which government had given the approval that they will allot the additional acreage initially surrendered by the company, and for which they wanted certain work program commitment as well as certain payment, which we have made. Right now the production sharing contract for that additional is called R2, is under final approval by the government. It has taken much longer than what we initially envisaged. So once we have that, we will take up drilling of new wells in the area.
Acha, sir. And secondly, sir,
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Peter. May we request you to return to the queue for your follow-up questions, as we have several participants waiting in the queue.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Sushil Agarwal, a private investor. Please go ahead. Mr. Sushil Agarwal, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I have two questions. Actually, my first question is, means if our first shuttle we are telling that it will be around 2 months, and if we start production around November, it means we'll be able to deliver to the refiner by January or so. So it will not be reflected in the Q3 result.
See, it depends on whatever the quantity is there, the increase or decrease in the sale quantity. So it will be a part of the, when you mark to the market, it will get reflected directly into the results.
So means my point was whether revenue would be accounted based on production or when we deliver to the refinery.
That's what, when you mark to the market, it will be a part of the inventory. So it will be reflected in the revenue, but the cash realization will not be there. It will be more of a working capital adjustment will take place.
Okay. The other question is about PY3, because when we stopped PY3, the production was around 3,000 barrel, and now the oil prices are very good. And can we push for that development plan for PY3?
Normally, the operators are executing the project as such, and we will provide all the support to the operator when it required as such.
Because now the revenues from PY3 can be quite high.
There is zero value we kept in the books. We have fully impaired that assets. If a new development takes place, we can look at as such, and what is the new value can be generated that block. So that would be more from the operator side. They have to come up with a plan on it.
Okay. Our last question about this new...
but may we please request you to return to the queue for your follow-up, as we have several participants still waiting.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Sai Das, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I have two questions. The first question is the 1/3 share of revenues to the government. Is this particular for BAT? Or can it be generalized for all of your producing assets? That is one question. And the second question is that why did ONGC stop developing BAT? Thank you, sir.
Okay, normally what has happened, this is a biddable item actually in the revenue sharing contract from the discovered small fields. Previously it is based on the investment multiples in the production sharing contracts. So it is a revenue shared by the government without looking into the cost recovery model. So what happens is they put a HRR and LRR and HRR. It depends on the revenue, you can bid for it. The lowest revenue, how much you would like to share, and higher revenue, how much you would like to share. It is moving linear as such. That is where it's roughly around 20% in our case. If somebody puts 99% share with the government, they may end up with 60% to the government.
Okay, so it is variable and depends upon well. I mean the specific field.
Nature of contract you entered with the government.
Yes. Okay, great. And the second question is, sir, may I know why did ONGC stop developing this BAT field?
So we are bottom scavengers, they are big guys. That's the difference.
Looks like you have, great bottom of scavenging perhaps. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Sharad Sharma, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Hypothetical question. What would be the potential impact of GST coming in on petrol products, sir? Any HOAC impact?
See, when GST comes as an impact, our cost will be get reduced by that 18%. That's it. Whatever we are getting as a cost is 12 to 18% is the cost which we are incurring on our services. That will get passed on to. That is a pass-through mechanism at the moment it comes on.
So going forward cost, none of the capex cost of what we've done till now on BAT or something, no benefit to that, right?
See, whatever it is, if it is no, they cannot put any retrospective effect. They can give only prospective. So only in future capex we could be able to pay some costs, not on now.
Got it. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from the line of Rohit Poti from Marshmallow Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the follow-up opportunity, sir. My question is again on your answer on VAT that you shared before. So you mentioned that we'll maintain our value of production in such a way that the government share is roughly 30%. So I'm curious, so what happens, let's say if the oil prices, our net realized oil price is $75, $80, does that mean that we'll produce less than 5,000 barrels of oil? And follow-up is what happens when we decide to increase production from BAT to, let's say, 7,000, 8,000 once the expansion comes on stream, if and when the expansion comes on stream. So how does this whole thing work out is something I'm curious to know.
I think what happens, when you have a revenue stabilization, when you look at, if the price goes up, you will little more share with the government. Instead of 20%, you will go with the 25%, right? So then you increase your overall revenue to the company. And at the same time, around say 60, 70, 75, $80 in this range, then you will be maintaining, you will be adjusting your choke rate and reducing the production thereon and maintaining the longevity of my field, I would like to stabilize revenue, a plateau of revenue of the field for longer rather than flop.
Okay, understood, sir. That was helpful. And just to reconfirm what you mentioned to a previous participant, when you include the subsidiary also into the mix, the asset that we are providing to BAT, our net return to the company would be roughly to the tune of $30 at a $50 oil price and current rental rates that are prevalent in the market. Am I right?
See, I will be able to, whatever the operating cost I am charging to that field asset, suppose say around charging you $100,000, assume it for the time being. Out of that, my operating cost comes to say around $30,000. $70,000 go to my group profit as such, group cash flow thereon. So in a way that my group will make a good return. My field also ensured the longevity, and my field return also good. In a way, the company is not depending on many contractors as such to run the field. It will withstand even to the lower price. It will be much benefited on the higher price. That's the basis of this transaction.
So the group you refer to is HOEC, our company. That's what you refer to, right?
We have two subsidiaries. Then that would be the HOEC as a group.
Okay, so 70% to HOEC group and 30% to whoever is outside contractor. Understood, sir. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from Tejas Shah from Unique Stockbroking. Please go ahead.
Yeah. What would be the price or quantity that we need to keep it at around 20% or 30% what your royalty was for BAT?
So what is that? Can I get the question again?
What will be the quantity required to keep it under the 20 or 30% royalty total revenue going to the government?
Right now, at the current price of $60, we will be producing around 5,500 barrels and gas around 15 million cubic feet of gas. In that, we will share with the revenue with the government 20-21%, and the royalty is 10%. That's where it is 30% comes. Now, the price moves, there would be we have to readjust ourselves. It is not sacrosanct formula as such, only 20% we'll pay for it. If we have good price as such, we'll move it up to little more than to the government share, and we'll get more money to the company as such.
And the Upper Dirok, when we will get it online, the Upper Dirok asset?
After drilling as such, that will take a couple of years.
Couple of years. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from Varadarajan from Antique Limited. Please go ahead.
Thank you again for the opportunity. Sir, any update on Karsan? And secondly, on PY1, now that the production has gone down, you may have to do additional drilling or investment. How does it work with the contract existing with GAIL? For the new gas, will you enter into a new contract, or the existing contract at 360 continues?
Yeah. In PY1, once we take up the new wells in the existing field only, then the gas will go to under the existing contract with GAIL. That's what we are saying. The wells that we are identifying will follow that model. Vardha, what was your second question?
Second was on Karsan. Any update?
On Karsan. Karsan, there's no new development. Right now there are discussions going on the cost recovery limits with the government before the government has given ad hoc extension before extending the field. Those discussions are being handled by the field operator, GeoInpro. And the field is producing around 600 barrels of oil per day. With the price being good, it is generating operating surpluses to us.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from Shamak Peter, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Sir, hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, it is regarding that one small field in Gujarat, that Bawla field. Is it operational now also, or we have stopped the production of gas over there?
Which field, Mr.
Bawla field in Gujarat.
No, not now. We have only North Balol.
Balol. Sorry, Balol. I'm sorry.
Balol we are operating. Yes.
Acha, the production is second
small volume. So Cambia as a whole, after we get the R2 PSC executed, we will take up, and we've already applied for environmental clearance process. We've initiated that.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from Sushil Agarwal, private investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my first question is that now with money from BAT feed and we are bidding for the next round of bidding, whether we would be more aggressive in bidding for the future fields?
No, we would evaluate, and whatever makes commercial sense only we will do.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to check about Dirok actually, the Greater Dirok and Phase 2, they are the separate ones, right? Greater Dirok expansion plans, development plans are separately being chalked up, and it will be informed, means how the production will be starting.
The Greater Dirok is basically an exploration block. Right now we are conducting some studies. We'll come up with a plan, and then we will update. Our current focus is on the main Dirok itself, which can use more gas.
But Greater Dirok means how much time? 6 months, 1 year? Means what is our...
Yeah, I mean there are timelines for drilling the well. We will combine the drilling along with the Dirok drilling campaign. But this is an exploration block.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our last question. I now hand over the conference to Mr. Elango from HOEC for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you all for joining our call today. HOEC's next transformation will be to emerge from a strong player in Northeast to a significant offshore upstream oil and gas player, post first oil from BAT with strong financials. We remain committed to add value to all the stakeholders by continuing our growth journey at a faster pace. This is possible with just the existing discovered resources in our current portfolio. Beyond this, we plan to add more suitable resources as well by evaluating fields in the recently launched DSF bid round 3, which have synergies with our current portfolio. Thank you all for the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members of management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited, that concludes today's conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.